Tonight on Inside Outlook, we have teamed up with the Caucus and the one and only House of Hong here in Seattle's Chinatown ID to host Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson in an intimate town hall discussion. The Caucus, which claims no political affiliation, is a loose network of community members tasked with coming up with the questions to be asked of the AG. Born and raised in Seattle, Ferguson was first elected Attorney General in 2012 and then re-elected in 2016. Shortly thereafter, the state AG burst onto the national scene when his office successfully challenged and temporarily halted President Donald Trump's Muslim ban from going into effect. Attorney General Ferguson will discuss the implications of this case, Trump's potential obstruction of justice, and a range of issues impacting Washington state. This is an episode you do not want to miss. Stay tuned.
I really see the education funding as one of the last big piles of public money that corporations haven't taken. They're using private money for the military. They're using private money for prisons. And now they want to have private companies do education. What happens when they all start sharing data? What happens down the road when they need to increase their quarter-over-quarter profits and those dollars need to get shaved? Who's going to take it? It's going to be the kids. The quality of the education is going to go down.
I just think that the idea that there would be a mass exodus of people from Seattle is overblown. When you look at the highest tax jurisdictions like San Francisco and New York City and Los Angeles, they have no problem attracting people and keeping talented people.
As I understand what the AG's role is, any state, is he or she represents the people. So in order for us to get him to do something, we need to show that there's some sort of harm. Whether it's a harm to our resources, whether it's a harm to our children. So I think we can, if we could find some hook to, kids dying, at childbirth, or asthma, or things like that, and tie that into whatever issue.
From the environmental perspective, there should be an evaluation of what it means to defund the EPA, and maybe that's something the AG could sue on.
Are you guys arriving at a question to the answer?
Yeah, what do we got? What's our question?
That's why I'm here.
We got a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
So we get one question?
We got one question.
You see how many tables there are? Let's give a big, warm welcome to Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson.
Thanks so much. Appreciate being here and appreciate all of you guys being here. This is a big turnout. So I'm a native of Washington State. I'm a fourth-generation Washingtonian. My ancestors were homesteaders here out before it was a state, back when it was still a territory up in what's now Skagit County. Throughout my years as a kid, from maybe age 10 to 18, I spent all my time playing chess. That's what I did. I neglected all my schoolwork and played chess all the time. And so chess is outside my family, it's the most influential part of how I think about the world. I mean, even more than attending law school. The travel ban was signed on a Friday night, right? That's when Donald Trump signed the travel ban. And my team knew that if a travel ban was signed, they were to go to work examining it, okay? We talked about that before. Donald Trump, when he was campaigning for president, called for a complete and total shutdown of Muslims coming into the United States. That's a direct quote, right? Number one, we took that seriously. Number two, we had a team in place to go to work if it was executed, right? And so when it was executed on Friday night, the team did not wait till Monday to talk about it. They all went to the office. The travel ban, of course, went into effect immediately as soon as the president signed it, which meant there were people on airplanes who had their travel visas they'd worked hard to get over a period of years who were turned away once they landed. right? That was happening in real time. And in chess, I discovered there's two kinds of chess players. There are those who are prepared to take a calculated risk and those who are not. I had my weaknesses as a chess player, believe me, but that was not one of them. But from my standpoint, it wasn't hard. Washingtonians are being harmed. We think we have good arguments. We think I can bring the lawsuit. Well, if the answer to those questions are yes, why would I not bring it? I asked Noah and the team to file that complaint Monday. So executive order signed Friday night. We meet Saturday, make the decision Saturday afternoon. I say, hey, do you think you can file that thing Monday? And they worked around the clock. They got it filed. The judge gave us a hearing for that next Friday, a week later, and the ruling went our way within a week. So from executive order being signed to it being stopped, 1 week, which is a real credit to the team who literally worked around the clock that entire week to make it happen. So thank you. So I'll tell you some things we are doing though, right, with the environment. So number one is national monuments, right? He issued an executive order. He wanted a re-examination of those national monuments that were created in the last 20 years. We've had them since Teddy Roosevelt, by the way, right? And Donald Trump's the first president to say, hey, I want to roll back those protections. I wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Interior saying two things. Number one, hey, come visit our national monuments. Hanford Reach, San Juan Islands, right? If you come, I might give you a three-dimensional view of the situation. And number two, whether you come or not, if you try, or the president tries to roll back protections, we will file a lawsuit. I'm not saying I might, we will. We've researched it, we will. I think we will win. We think we have a strong case on that. So that's right, a situation we are specifically engaged on that issue. I should also add, by the way, that hey, when it comes to the environment, there's a lot of focus on the new president, and I appreciate that. But hey, I filed a lawsuit against the Obama administration on the inability of the federal government to adequately and safely clean up Hanford, the nuclear waste site Hanford. I filed a lawsuit there, so I want to be clear, we are equal opportunity in our office, right? We are, right? I mean, if we think you're violating the law and you're harming Washingtonians, we're going to do something about it, regardless of who the occupant is. It just may be there's more such opportunities with the new administration, maybe past ones, right? I think that's fair to say.
National security.
National security. National security. All right.
Number one, how would you define obstruction of justice?
All right, fair enough. You can always ask. I may not answer it, but okay. All right.
We couldn't resist.
Yeah.
And number two, do you have a strong opinion that the current administration has been culpable in obstructing justice and into an investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
I have a lot of thoughts on the subject, as you might imagine. I guess I'd start by saying this, is that if Donald Trump said to FBI Director Comey, what FBI Comey is alleged to have made a personal note, hey, the president asked me to, I forget the exact words, but to lay off the investigation, or right? Do you remember that? I mean, I've said this publicly. 3 words come to mind when I see that, obstruction of justice. Number two, firing Comey. Breathtaking, right? In the most negative of ways, right? Look, it'd be unthinkable to have the governor call me up and say, hey, Bob, can you tell Pleciotti to go easy on those, right? And no, it's not how it works, right? And, but seriously, the independence of our investigations, we do not confirm that we have an investigation going on. We don't say whether we do or don't. I get asked questions all the time, Bob, how come you're not doing something about X? And I know full well we have an investigation going on X, and I say, thanks for the question, and I just dance around it. But we do not talk about our investigations, period, right? So the sacredness of the independence of investigations, whether it's a state or federal level, I mean, that is central to having a justice system, right? And so his decision to fire Comey, the statements that he allegedly made, I mean, those are deeply concerning. As maddening as it can be to hear him say the things he says, I don't want to paint too optimistic a picture here, but in that travel ban litigation, those statements he made were in our complaint. And courts looked to those statements in granting us our injunction as evidence of an animus towards Muslims as the basis for why they issued the executive order. As I like to say, you cannot tweet your way out of a problem in a courtroom. It is not the loudest voice that prevails in a courtroom, it's the Constitution, right? It puts him on the defensive, and the travel ban was Exhibit A for that, right? When that executive order came out, I'm telling you, we were prepared for the worst, we thought. It far exceeded what we thought would be a worst case scenario, in part because how broad it was on refugees and the specific countries. So just as a, look, I was offended by that. You know, it seems like we should learn some lessons from our history about, hey, treating people unequally, right? I'm deeply troubled by, I mean, everything that travel ban represents. I mean, I realize I talk about in the law, and when I talk about law, one can speak in a bit in legalese, but I'm just telling you, it pissed me off, right? I mean, it really, really pissed me off. I was offended by it as an American. It is hurting him badly in the courtroom. So I just want to put that out there for you, right? That as maddening as it can be, there's one of your lawyers a few blocks away from here who are scrutinizing those and plugging them into our complaints. And it hurts them in that situation as well.
We really are very thankful for you coming out to the caucus to come out and talk politics with strangers and to come up with these questions. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.